Hi, everybody, and welcome back to week 2 of our second session of 3 interviews for Punch, Kick, Choke, Chat. My name's Sean Benson, and I'm one of your hosts tonight. If you're looking at your screens, you can see that we have an incredible collection here. I'm going to say as little as possible tonight because of who we have on the call, and I'm going to let the intros go around the way they normally do. But as always, it's my pleasure to introduce Sensei Nicholas Suino, who's one of our regular interviewers. He was our first guest. He's also the head of the Japanese Martial Arts Center in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He's an 8th Dan with the sword. He's a 6th Dan in Judo and a 5th Dan in Jiu-Jitsu. And I get to call him a teacher and a friend. And I'm going to throw it over to you, Sensei Suino. How's your night going? What's going on?
Well, it's about to get a lot better. Can't wait to hear from everybody. This is this set of interviews is just really shaping up well. We've got some fantastic people that come. Everybody brings their own point of view. And even after 52 years in the martial arts, 53 years in the martial arts, I'm learning something every time we have one of these calls. So, man, I'm loving it. And I know everybody else that I've talked to around Michigan parts is loving it as well. I am happy to be here, but more importantly, I'm happy to introduce Randy Dauphin, who is one of our regular interviewers, a longtime Iaido student of mine. Long before that, he was a karate student with Hanshi Gary Legacy, who's also on the call. I was thinking about some other things to say about Randy because he and I have done a lot of stuff together. I actually remember the first time he and I ever put on gloves and practiced karate together, and how cool it was to see his level of proficiency, after I'd gotten to know him very well as a student, but to see him in real time. Those of you who spar in karate or in judo know that feeling when you're in the moment. You're present, you're aware, it's all encompassing, but you can still have an exchange of personalities with people. That's a really cool moment. I'm much more comfortable doing that in judo. But it was cool, and I remember to this day the first time I did that with Randy, and I'm sure it will happen again many times before I can't pick up the gloves anymore. With that, having said that, I'm going to turn it over to Randy and let him do what he does so well.
Thanks so much for that, Sensei Suino. I remember that day too. I think it was me and you and Daniel J. Holland III who were rummaging around right a couple feet behind you there, and it was a great day. So yep. I get to introduce the 2 Hanshis tonight. It's everybody on this call. You should be super excited. It's not often you get to talk with 2 10th Dans or have access to 2 10th Dans simultaneously. If you don't know Hanshi Legacy, you can go back and look at his interview and learn a bunch of stuff about him because it's up on YouTube and you can see it and you can hear his thoughts, very deep thoughts on karate. Me personally, he's like a father to me. My parents are dead, but he was like a father to me before when they were even alive. He probably remembers the first time my mom stomped across the floor at my yellow belt grading to say, "I sure would like to see my son once in a while." Right? But I owe him so much, and I'm so proud to be his student, and I'm so grateful for everything that he's taught me. Just a pioneer of karate in Canada and actually in the world. So many students on this call and across the globe. But next I'm going to introduce Hanshi Carlos Montalvo. I have lots and lots I can say about him. I consider... We've had lots of different people on this call, but he's a person that I consider myself to have a very strong personal relationship with. I have a lot of love and affection for him. He's 10th Dan. He's the founder of the Ronin Brotherhood, Ronin International Goju-Ryu. Some of these numbers, I know I'm being conservative. He has over 800 black belt students across the globe internationally. He's a 5-time world champion. I know he's competed it's like 376 times at the black belt level. And I know he has actually won like 355 of those tournaments or around there. He is a retired federal agent who actually has protected 5 U.S. presidents. He's been the bodyguard to 5 U.S. presidents. one of the things I like about him is he's just an incredible sensei, which is evident in the amazing students that he has. Not only do I have close relations with Hanshi Montalvo, I also do with Javiero Adams, Rafi Rodriguez, David Luis Munoz, Adet Rice, James Fries. Some of these people are some of the closest people to me in my martial arts career. I actually, interestingly, we all met, Hanshi Legacy and myself and Hanshi Montalvo and Kiyoshi Fries and Kiyoshi Rice, we all met simultaneously in Niagara Falls at the same place. And that was in 2004. And Hanshi Legacy was teaching a White Crane seminar and I was helping him with that. And Hanshi Montalvo was teaching close quarters combat and I was participating in that. That's where I actually learned how to do a carotid strike, was at that seminar. And it was the Canadian Championships. And funny thing about that is I was supposed to be disqualified in a fight. And somebody from outside the ring said, we've changed the rules. It was that light or heavy contact. And this is after I had punched somebody in the head deliberately very hard. And Hanshi Montalvo was the first referee that they asked, was it light or heavy contact? And he said, well, the guy came back in the ring, so it must be light contact. And that allowed me to keep fighting. And I didn't win that tournament. I ended up losing to a person named Dominic Bitiglieri. I beat him later. I would just say that, Dominic, if you're watching this, you'll remember that I beat you later. But that's how we met Hanshi Montalvo. That's how we met Hanshi Montalvo. Since then, I've had the opportunity to train with him dozens of times. Kata, kumite, close quarter combat. He's even invited me to some executive protection sessions. We've done pistol training in Florida. I was at his 9th dan grading, which incidentally, he also did with Hanshi Legacy. They did their 9th dan grading together. So that's something they share. I've been in his home with his lovely wife, Zuma. She's so intelligent, so loving and caring. I know both of his sons, Carlos Jose and Jonathan. He's just an awesome person. And I think he's one of the best people out there at mixing both ancient and modern Budo. The modern Budo and the ancient Budo. He wraps it all up so nicely and so well. And his association, the Ronin Brotherhood, it reminds me of Legacy Shorin-ryu. It's so similar in that it has a very familial feeling. When I'm with him and with the Ronins, I often feel like I'm safe, I'm welcome, and I'm an insider. And I'm super proud he's taken an interest in me, and I'm really grateful for everything he's ever shown me and helped me with. And with that, Sean, that's my introduction for Hanshi Carlos Montalvo.
Great. Well, to the people who are new and to anybody watching again, this is where I do a few housekeeping notes. First off, this is called Punch, Kick, Choke, Chat. We've all punch, kicked, and choked each other, and this is the chat part. And this is just 5 guys chatting. And when there's women hear women or they hear they, like, you might hear some swearing, you might hear some stories that aren't to your taste. It's okay. Call your sensei, complain to them. And if you have a real problem, we'll refund you what you paid to watch this. I was laughing with what Sensei Dolphin and I were chatting with Mike Russell, and you might see us checking our phones now and then or looking down. Yeah, imagine us all at a coffee shop, and that we're probably texting each other going, hey, is this a good question? Is this a good thought? Or we might be texting someone totally unrelated. We're at the coffee shop hanging out. We're hanging out with you, and we're so happy to. But again, it's something that we love doing, and a lot of times we're going back and forth to keep the thing in the air. I trimmed the side of my hair. I can't do all of it because I have a film coming up, but I'm jealous of these guys and their short cuts. And that's it. I just want to say how excited I am always for the people watching. The ranks equal to or higher than me, it's an honor. The ones lower than me, it's an honor as well. And I hope you learned something here. There's nothing I've gotten more from my martial arts off the dojo floor than sitting quietly while masters are talking. It's the truth. Speaking of, Hanshi Montalvo, I cannot wait to get to know you tonight. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you very much. And thank you, Randy, for your kind words. I'm very honored and at the same time proud of our relationship, proud of our friendship for a long time. And that's why I created Ronin, because I didn't put it Ronin friendship group. I put it Ronin Brotherhood, which in Japanese is Kyodai. And I love the fact that because we exchange punches, kicks, and all that, we're still brothers, and we respect each other, and I love that. So, and we have grown, Randy, we had grown. The last time that we checked, we have 1,800 black belts in 31 countries, members of Ronin, and I'm very proud. And I will say that I know probably 93% of them that we have been in the mat, we have been in the tatami together. It is not something that we do through the internet. It's something that we meet in a place, we train together. Like, for example, last year, I trained with my representative from Sri Lanka and my representative from India. And we had a great time. We exchanged punches, kicks, and we have a good time. So I'm very proud, and thank you for that introduction, Randy.
Right on. So
You're welcome, Hanshi.
Robert just sent a message out to the group. Robert is our faceless coordinator, without whom we couldn't do this show. As Sensei Dauphin said, he's far too handsome for us to put on camera, or you would ignore all of us. But what he did just send out to everybody watching, if you do have questions, there's the chat button in the bottom, and we'll vet them, and we'll pass the good ones on. Tonight we have Hanshi Legacy on the call, so he's just going to do this if the questions aren't good, and we won't ask them. Hanshi Montalvo. So I actually want to start with something Sensei Dauphin talked about, and it's always something that I find to be one of the things most exciting to my curiosity. And it's on one of the websites that talks about you, which is, your goal in creating the Brotherhood is striking the necessary balance between traditional roots and your 21st century interpretation of what classical martial arts is. So what is that for you? What does that look like?
I would say that the times change. If Gary or myself, we spar the way we spar when we learn karate, we will have our ass kicked all the time, because you had to change with the time. I remember when I went to the United States to study my master. I was accepted in a program to study master and PhD in psychology. And I was in Connecticut, and I went to a tournament to fight. And I was representing my university, and I ended up fighting a guy that I read a lot about him, and his name is Larry Kelly. But he's another fighter. So I fought him, and this is back in 1978. When I stood up in front of him, I'm ready with my front kick, my Yakosuki, Oisuki, all this. Larry Kelly raised his leg and repeated 3 roundhouse to my face. Every time that I block and I put it down, he kicked me. 3 times. And I went crazy. I had never seen that, especially in Puerto Rico. That was the first time that I saw somebody raising the leg and go pam, 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 pam. Wow, what an experience. What I did was, as soon as I went back to Puerto Rico, I started teaching that to my students. And everybody started winning tournaments that way. So, and that is not coming from all time. It's coming from the new era of fighters. So I believe that the techniques and everything has to be polished in a way that would adjust to whatever we're doing right now.
And what do you think that is right now? What do you think the thing is right now that would beat what you guys were doing back in the day?
Well, I had fought in traditional karate tournament. Before it used to be AAU, and then later on was WKF. So I was coming from a sport karate. And in sport karate, you do some movement and all that. I don't like it now because now just going like this, that's the point. I don't like that. However, I was able to study and I was able to change and adjust myself to whatever they were doing. However, I consider myself a very alert person, and I read my opponent. From the time that he is with the gloves on, I'm already know what he's gonna do.
Hanshi, you're alert.
Faking.
You're alert before he woke up. You're alert to him before he got to the tournament.
And what I do, I like. I was interviewing a magazine, and they describe the way I fight like a raging bull, like a clown, because I make all type of noises. I make all type of movement. I make my opponent feel crazy. Who is this mad guy in front of me? And as soon as I see his eyes wandering, I'm in. And the good thing is I'm in and I'm out before he counted. So I had a good time during my fighting career. I had a very, very good time. And I think that Gary's gonna love this. When I turned 60, Carlos Jose was going to a tournament. And we went to a tournament. It was a national tournament in Orlando. And I turned 60 4 years ago. And we had 9 Hanshis there, 9 people, 9th degree and 10th degree. A lot of great fighters that I remember and I have seen. And my son says, Carlos Jose says, that if you're not competing, I'm not competing. Excuse me? I haven't thrown a punch for ages. But if you don't compete, I don't compete. I said, okay. So I signed in, I paid my first time ever in my life paying for the tournament. And I paid. And when I pay, I went and I started asking the different Hanshis. Saino and Gary gonna laugh about this, Ontarian. I asked him, are you gonna compete? No, I have open heart surgery. No, I can't. No, I had arthroscopy on my knees. No, I have a hip replacement. No, so there was nobody to fight. And I'm dying to fight. I have my new gloves, I have my new gi, and I'm dying to compete. So the thing is, I ran out of competitors in my division. So my son says, I'm not fighting. I said, asshole. So I went down. And I ended up competing in the 40 to 45 division of masters. You have 7 degrees and you have a couple of 8 degrees. But we had about 9 guys in that division. I did 4 fights and I won. And this is the good thing. I never threw a kick. Why? I have a titanium hip. I cannot kick. But I have a big heart and I'm quick with my hands. So I was able to do a lot of faking and all that, and I won the first place, and I gave the trophy to a kid who was crying because he didn't win. So I gave it to the mother. It was a big trophy. We had a good time. This is 4 years ago. That was my last tournament. I enjoyed that to the fullness.
So that's your last tournament. Bring us back to before you even walked in the dojo. You're a kid in Puerto Rico, and then you end up going into that karate taekwondo spot and you start training. What brought you there? What was that first couple weeks, first couple months like for you, and what kept you there?
My father was a chief of police, and my brother, and I think some of you have met my brother. My brother is bigger than me. He loves weights, so he's bigger, probably the same height, but big arms and all that. And when my father was putting people in jail, they want to do something. They didn't decided not to go against my brother because it was too big, and ended up going against me. I live in a nice neighborhood, but to be able to go to the center of the town, I had to cross a public housing project. And a public housing project, you have a lot of unfriendly people. And in one day, I got beat up 3 times, one day. So I decided that I would like to learn how to fight. And say, it's gonna laugh about this, Nicolas, I practice judo. But the thing is, I was so skinny, I was flying all over the place. It was so hard. I practiced boxing. However, look at my nose. From the beginning, they broke my nose. And in boxing, you had to let the guy hit you so you could hit back. I don't like that. So I ended up practicing karate. And karate to me was a natural thing. I started with a guy who was a first-degree black belt. My first kick was back in 1967, but that wasn't a dojo. That was just me looking through the window and throwing some kick and learning that way. And I joined a dojo back in 1969. And in 69, I started practicing. I practiced a little Taekwondo. Then I went to a Shaolin Su Kempo, which is a Chinese style. And I ended up being I left as an orange belt. And from that point on, I went on the traditional style of Okinawan Kempo from Toshimitsu Kina, from a direct student of Toshimitsu Kina. And I had never seen that. So perfect, the kibadachi, so low, and it was black gi. And it was very exciting. After that, I don't know if you people who are into the MMA and mixed martial art recognize the name. One of my instructors, I joined Hawaiian Kempo, and my sensei was Cecil Peoples, who is a referee, former world champion in full contact from Van Nuys, California. I reached my second and third degree with him. And when I was going for my fourth dan, I joined the federal government and I moved to Miami. And then from that point on, I practiced Sansei Goju Ryu, and that was it. I stayed with Goju Ryu since 1984 up to now.
So I know we're going to get real excited to talk about the real world applications of this. And we've already got a bunch of questions coming in about the bodyguarding and stuff, but how important is style to you? I mean, you've worked through a couple styles. You landed in the Goju with the Ronin. Can you speak to that a bit? Like, given that you use this in the real world more than a lot of us who are on the call, how much does style matter to you, or how much did it?
Well, I noticed, I had to make this comment. I noticed that Shorin Ryu is very similar to Goju Ryu. Goju Ryu, they call it the close quarter combat. And Goju Ryu is a perfect style. And probably Jiu-Jitsu will be too, for law enforcement. So when all these years with the Kempo, I was just competing. I joined the federal government, became a federal agent. 80% of my job was doing undercover work. I have very expensive jewelry. I have several different cars, Mercedes, Corvette, everything. And the close quarter combat helped me in many, many life-threatening situations, fights and all that. The Goju Ryu developed power from a very short distance. They use a lot of sanchin dashi type of position below your hip and use the power of your hip on a very short distance. That momentum of hitting is very important for our job. Plus, I enjoy doing all that. However, I used to be a kicker. I used to be very, very good kicking from the time that I started in Taekwondo. I went, most of you know Bill Wallace. I went with Bill Wallace to Ecuador for a full contact fight. I was part of the team of the US. It was Tony Parmore, Bart Bell, Bill Wallace, myself. And they were measuring the speed of Bill Wallace kicking. And he kicked at 72 miles per hour with the left leg. And he has a lot of training, a lot of machinery that he used to train and keep himself with that speed. I kick at 70 miles per hour. So I was pretty good. I could do almost everything that I do with my hands. I could do it with the leg on the kicking and all that. However, as a law enforcement officer, you cannot do that. So you have to develop your hands. You have to develop a lot of Chinese movement or circular movement to be able to put the person out of balance and all that. So, Sean, I think that the reason that I stay with Goju Ryu is because it helped me in real life, and teaching self-defense and teaching powers and all that. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
you answered that brilliantly. And actually, Russell, I'm not going to ask your question because I think you can see that his question was basically, you know, how does your karate classically serve you when you're a bodyguard? And I think in terms of the undercover stuff, you kind of answered that. Yeah, it's there for you, right? Is this what I'm hearing?
Definitely. There's a lot of movement in doing a bodyguarding thing. People have the opinion that you have to be very big, very muscular to be a bodyguard. And that's not true. You need to be able to be alert. You need to have a good peripheral vision. And at the same time, you need to be very, very good in Tai Sabaki, which is displacement of the body. When I do training, I do a lot of training and I teach a lot of that. And to be able to control, and remember, I'm not there to arrest anybody. I am there to anticipate any possible attack against the person that I'm protecting and avoid that. Not to get in touch. My last resort is my weapon. My first choice and my first thing is protecting that VIP, either the president, the Pope, or whoever I protected. So if you could read, and as a fighter, I was a good reader, and if you could read a possible threat in front of you, why are you going that way? You know, take another route and do whatever. So beside the technique is to be alert and to anticipate that type of possible incidents.
You did that one, Hanshi Legacy. I know that reading is something you've talked about a lot with us. Like, you got to read what's happening.
I'm sorry, I was off there for a minute.
Oh, I was just saying, when you laughed there, I thought you were connecting with that idea of having to read your opponent, which is something I know you've taught us 1,000 times.
Okay, I'm going to pass here.
And then Sensei Suino, I want to toss it to you for a sec, because that idea of taking your opponent off balance, of getting that. I didn't hear the term you used, Hanshi Montalvo, but I know that's.
Tai Sabaki?
Is that how you talk about it, Sensei Suino?
Yeah, I mean, the Japanese martial arts, right? Japanese jiu-jitsu, Japanese judo, Tai Sabaki, body movement is a term we use.
Displacement, yeah.
Yeah, quite a bit. And, you know, of course, judo, in sport judo, you're connected to the other human being with your arms. And so when you move yourself, if you do it productively, you're taking their balance at the same time.
Right on. And then I know in the 70s here, you started working with inner city youth with the martial arts. Once you'd opened your own dojo, you spent some time training them.
Yes, we opened our first dojo back in 1974. We closed that dojo last year. So imagine how many years, how many people we have, how many black belts we had produced. It was good. My hometown is called San Sebastian, which is on the west side of the island. Some of you guys had been there for our events. And San Sebastian is considered in Puerto Rico. They said the following. They said that Puerto Rico is the Okinawan of the Caribbean. And they said that San Sebastian is the Okinawan of Puerto Rico. To give you an idea, it's a small town. Luis David, Katsuo, Adet, all these people have been in that town. It's a small town, probably 50,000 in population. However, and listen to this, Sean, he had 33 dojos. My brother, it was my brother, myself, and a guy from a Kung Fu style named Julio Mendez, who were the pioneers in martial art in my hometown, who opened schools back in the 70s. And the fact that we had that dojo open for so long, imagine. So when I go to an event in Puerto Rico, I may not recognize this black belt who's doing this, but he's probably a student of my student of my student. So he has a lineage with us, and it's amazing. I don't smoke, I don't drink. That doesn't mean that if you smoke or drink, I never like it. However, I help a lot of kids who were from bad neighborhoods. And these people later on became attorneys. They're black belts. They become black belts early. When I grew up, I did not promote black belts if you're not 16 for Shodan Ho and 18 for Shodan. That was my belief way back. And those kids practice for a long, long time. So I think that karate, to me, it is my life philosophy. I don't know if that happened to Gary or to you, Nicholas, but there's some times in which you think I should hang up my belt. I'm tired. I'm doing too much, or you're teaching people who do not appreciate what you're doing. You get disappointed, and it happens. I have overcome that, but it happened to me too. So what I'm trying to say is karate has been very, very alive to me all these years.
And what was it? I mean, there's better business models than teaching kids who might not show up the next week, who might not be able to pay. What was it about karate that you went, these people who don't have all the other advantages that some of us have can use this? What did you see in the martial arts that had to get passed on?
It's not only teaching the kicking or the punching or being tough. It's teaching humility. It's teaching humbleness. It's teaching you to do the right thing. It's teaching you to help the other one. I like to do that. I see things like that you don't have an idea. Like, for example, I set up, I have a meeting with my black belts, and then I say, hey, tomorrow we're gonna go to this elderly people place. And I say, okay. And then I'm in a pickup truck. They think we're gonna have an exhibition or whatever. And then I produce paint gallons, brushes, roll. I say, okay, we're gonna paint the outside of this place. And after this, we're gonna finish at 3 p.m. And I have about 10 black belts. And they came with the uniform and the black belt on, and it looks so funny, you know? And we had done that, but that's the way you teach then the value of life and the value of helping somebody else. I don't know, they call me crazy sometimes, but what can I say?
Hanshi, can I ask you something? We had a discussion that I thought was very recently, where you explained to one of my students what sensei was. And I think it bears on this conversation about what we're talking about. And how a lot of people just say it's teacher, right? Sensei is teacher, but you have a very specific thought on what a sensei is. And I really like what it is, because I think it's actually really relevant to what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, that was my conversation with Robert. In reality, sensei means the one that born before me, or the one that preceded me, the one that was before me. And as a student, you follow your sensei because he was there before. He knows how to get to the point that he is right now. And it's a stupid on your part as a student to go a different route when he's already made the path. And when I say the path, is the do, karate do, el camino, the way. So if he's a good instructor, when you are reaching where he is right now, that sensei will move to another location, to another place. And then you say, hey, he's moved that way, let me go that way too. And that's how you create the way, the path of Bushido with that student. And I never like to mark my dance on my belt. I didn't like that. However, by me doing it, it's showing them, oh, mira, he's a 4th degree. He has 4 stripes. I only have 1. I'm gonna reach to that 4. And then you continue, and that's why I wear a red belt that I wasn't planning to. I never thought in my life that I would be a 10th degree. I am under the tutelage of Dr. Isoharu Watanabe, 10th degree. He is the founder of Japanese Goju Ryu Watanabe-ha. His name is, and I'm reading his name right now, Isoharu Watanabe. He's from Osaka, Japan. And we had a very nice conversation one day. And it was very, very nice. I want to be his student. He told me no. And I said, okay. So I kept myself quiet. We continued talking for 2-3 months. I didn't know who he was until I learned later on by asking him questions. And he's probably 76, 77 years old right now. And he says, let me just tell you, Hanshi, why I will not take you as my student. And I say, you don't have to explain. You say, no, it's no. He says, no, you don't understand. By tradition, if you become my student, when I'm sitting, you have to be standing. When I'm talking, you have to be quiet. And when we walk, you walk behind me. And I said, there's no problem with that. I said, yes, a problem with me, because I want you to be my equal. I want you to walk next to me. I want you to talk when I'm talking. I want you to give me your opinion on things. So that humbleness that person shows me made me realize, karate is more than just kicking and punching. It's more than that. And when I say karate, I mean martial arts.
Whether it's working with the youth or whether it's painting those old folks' homes, the word that's coming to mind for me is service, is figuring out how to be of service through your martial arts.
But do you know that that a samurai is a servant? You know that? So that means the same thing applies to bodyguards. The bodyguards are serving the shogun or whatever. They're protecting, the samurai is protecting. So the same thing applies to bodyguard. I think that everything has to do with service. I think that you have to be an open book on many things. I love when my students become champions. I love when they do things. I know so many black belts that are so uncomfortable when they realize that his student is kicking better than him, that he has more power than him. I hate that, because whatever your student is doing is your product. You should be proud of that. So every time that I still like to spar with my student, And every time that I spar and they score on me, I am mad with myself, not with him, mad with myself because I'm getting slower, or I telegraph and he saw me. However, I love that. I love when my students are doing great. I have students who has amazing ability, and they're humble, and it's a very good feeling. As an instructor, it's a very good feeling.
So let me pick up on the bodyguard idea, because you opened your dojo in '74, and then in the mid-late '70s you start bodyguarding. Is that right? And what was the transition? What made you go, no, Sensei, no offense, say no?
No, he was a federal agent at that point. So unless you
No.
consider him a
I was a federal agent in '84, but I started doing bodyguarding before that. I started doing bodyguarding for celebrities, and I didn't know nothing about bodyguarding. I know how to kick somebody, I know how to hold somebody, and I know how to control somebody. I didn't have any training. Now I have the training, and for years as a federal agent. However, I remember protecting many, many important people. For you guys to know some of them, Lou Ferrigno from Incredible Hulk, Jose Feliciano, the blind guy. Jose is a very well-known Mexican singer. So I did protection of those people, and we became very, very well-known. And it was about 6 karate champions from Puerto Rico protecting so-and-so. And by you just saying that, it's a deterrent for whoever is planning to do something. Hey, there's 6 karate champion protecting this singer. Don't get close to him. So, and that was it. But later on, when I became a federal agent, I went through different training. I went to different schools. One of the schools is a very well-known. I don't know if in Canada they call it like that. In the state and the federal government, they call it SRT, Special Response Team. In the state and municipal level or city level, they call it SWAT. So I became a SWAT guy, and I have been a SWAT guy for 19 years when I was in the agency. So when the federal government is going to do protection, when the Secret Service is protecting somebody, they need assistance from other agencies. And the agency number 1 that they called was ATF. We both belonged to the Treasury Department at the time. And what they do is, hey, there's a president, there's a threat against him. We need the best people that have the ability to do this, this. And then they have names. And when they punch Carlos Montalvo, it shows up martial artists, SRT, weapon expert, explosive expert, Yeah, take him. So, and I ended up traveling for months protecting different people. So that happened, and it was very natural for me. It was something I learned a lot from a lot of people. Let me share this with you so you can understand, Sean. We have one of my students, his name was Booty, I think. He was an orange belt. He had gone to 6 tournaments, winning first place in fighting. My brother and myself, I'm already a federal agent. My brother is a state agent, and we are very good in self-defense. And we teach street self-defense, and we're very good. Booty has to, Pochi, well, that was his name, Pochi. Pochi got into a real fight. He did not provoke the fight. He asked to fight somebody in the front of some party that it was. And Pochi stood up in front of the guy and did 3 roundhouse perfect ippon to the face of the guy. On the 3rd kick, the guy grabbed his ankle, pull him, and punch him, knock him out. When Pochi came back to the dojo, he had a black and blue, and he was suspended for 3 months. And the reason he was suspended, it was because you cannot use point karate to a street fight. You can't, because those techniques do not apply. So, and he ended up being suspended. So what I'm trying to say is some things apply, some do not apply. Martial artists with experience will tell you that.
And so as someone who is so successful competing and who, you know, most of it being full contact, but what's the what's the transition when you're doing point karate successfully and then you go to that party and you can't avoid a situation? What mental switch do you have to switch for the people watching who've maybe competed more in tournaments? What do they have to do differently? What did that student not do?
From the beginning, they had to realize this is for real. This is for real. You don't know if that guy is accompanied by somebody else. Kyochi or Sensei Nicholas will tell you this. If you're gonna go with somebody on the street and you do a perfect takedown with judo and you grab the guy, that's not a good technique on the street. Because while you're trying to do the strangulation, you're trying to do the armbar, there's other people who are gonna kick your ass. And you ended up losing everything. So you have to realize to be able to, if you have to hit, block and hit and out, and be precise on the movement and be solid and powerful. The best school that I have when I teach is cups. Don't do what the people in cups do. That's bad. And Facebook. I don't know if you have seen people standing up like this. They're gonna throw a punch, and at the last minute realize if I punch them, I may kill them. And then they open their hand and they slap them. That was a big mistake. You slap him, he's gonna hit you back. He's gonna hit you with somebody else, or somebody else is gonna come and help you. So you have to be decisive on what you're gonna do. You have to make sure that you understand this is a street. So a lot of taisabaki, a lot of back to the wall, a lot of joint kicking, punching, finger. You grab a finger, you stay with that finger, and you control the person. You go for vital points without killing the guy. You have to control so many things that you have to take in consideration in a street fight.
And then what brought you into law enforcement? So you're bodyguarding, it's going pretty well. And then what's the transition?
You know,
Hanshi, when you said that, like, and, Hanshi Montalvo, you should talk about, everybody would like to hear about when you first walked into the ATF office and why you walked into that office and where you were going and how you were.
I had taken the 2 tests before if you want to be an FBI, because everybody knows what FBI is. So I took the test for the police of Puerto Rico, and I passed the test with 98. My father said, no, don't do it now because you're going to be in uniform. Wait until you finish your bachelor's degree and you could be a detective. So I went to college and I finished my bachelor's degree and I took the test of the police of Puerto Rico and I passed it with 99. So that means 4 years of college gave me only 1 more point. So I became, he said, but why you want to be a detective if you know English? Let me make clear that you understand. I don't know English. And I know you guys having a hard time understanding what I'm saying, but I'm okay with that. That's your problem. So the next thing is, he says, go with the federal government. So the only thing that I know was FBI. So I went to the FBI and I took the first test, I passed. I took the second test and I passed. And it was a third test and the physical agility. When I'm ready to take the third test, I went to find out when is the next test. So I went to the federal building. In Puerto Rico, federal building is big building, 6 stories, real big. And I am with blue jeans, boots, my briefcase, and a shirt. And I'm standing in front of to looking where the office is because I had taken the test in different places. So I'm looking at the board, and I'm saying to my friend, a karate guy, I'm saying, what a stupid name. I said, what are you talking about? Look at this, read this. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearm, and Explosive. Well, at the time, it was not explosive. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms. That's a stupid long name. And a lady was passing by. She heard me. She stopped and she says, do you remember the Untouchables with Elliot Ness? And I said, yeah, my father made me watch that TV series at the time with Robert Stack. He says, that is ATF. It used to be ATU, Alcohol Tobacco Unit. And the Untouchables are the one who arrested Al Capone. And I said, wow. And she says, by the way, and don't get offended, but she says, Los Gringos, they're here interviewing for the position of federal agent. And they're interviewing, and it's on the 6th floor. So I went to the 6th floor. They had a lot of people there. It's about 30 people, all of them with suits, ties, and I am with my blue jeans. And the secretary came on to me and I said, I'm here to apply for the position. She looked up at me, looked up and down, and she says, hey, this is not fair for you to show up here for the test and for being interviewed when these people are waiting 6 and a year, from 6 months to a year to apply. And I said, well, ma'am, I'm here and I'm from the other side of the island and I want to be interviewed. I want to have the same chance. I don't think it's fair. I said, well, ma'am, I believe I have some civil rights and you violating my civil rights. Are you doing it because my name is not John Smith? And I make a big deal. So they gave me the interview. They only hired 2 guys. And the other person that was hired with me only lasted 11 months in Miami and he was fired. So I ended up getting the position. 10 days later, I moved to Miami and I started working in Miami when Miami was the capital of crime of the United States in the 80s with the cowboy cocaines and all this.
I mean, yeah.
Hanshi, how fast can you handcuff somebody, Hanshi Montalvo? How fast can you handcuff
I
somebody?
had done it in 1.8 seconds. My instructor has to do it in less than 2 seconds, and the student has to do it in less than 5 seconds, and it's guaranteed.
What do you consider pain compliance to be, Hanshi?
You put pain and you comply. If you don't comply, I continue with the pain. We all use that. Pain compliance is very, very good. However, you have police officers like what we're seeing on the TV right now that they do not understand and they continue and look at the result. It's amazing. It's a shame. It's a shame for them to call themselves police officers when they're not. Go ahead.
Hanshi, I got a question from one of your students who's also a friend of mine, Tim Monahan. He sent me a message just now.
Oh, Tim.
He wants to hear you talk about what it was like when you went to Canada, to Alberta for the Police Olympics and you had to fight there. He wondered if you'd speak about that a little bit.
It was an amazing event. It was Calgary. It was 65,000 people, over 6,000 competitors, and in my division, it was a lot of black belts. And the next one was in Saskatchewan with the CMP. They had the academy. I had a good time. I fought for a long time. I had a good time. Remember, I'm coming from the Caribbean, and it was cold. For me to warm up my knees, oh my God, it was amazing. It was hard. I had never with the exception of Connecticut, when I was in Connecticut, but it was real cold. Tim is a great guy. I love Tim, and we always have a good time. He knows many things. What can I say?
Yeah, he wants to know if you thought the Canadian fighters were any good.
Let me just show you. I think it was. However, some of them were, I don't want to say out of shape, but I was very fast. I would say that I was very fast, and but it's just a matter of heart. You had the heart, you had the heart. So it was just that, but I had a good time.
Do you, Hanshi, do you want to talk at all about being in the Guinness Book of World Records?
Let me show you so everybody could see. Let me see. Do you see that wall? Do you see that? Let me see if you can see my hand. Okay.
Yeah, we can see it, Hanshi.
That,
yeah, I can see it.
Okay. That is
Yeah.
a pistol. That is a 6-hour pistol, 225, model 225, which is a 9mm, 8 rounds, and the larger one is a 226, which is 13 rounds, 9mm. Back in October 20, 1987, I got involved in a shooting, my first shooting, and the bad guy at the time didn't want to go down, so he opened fire on me, and I am standing in front of him, probably 6 to 8 feet away from him. I saw his movement. He's sitting in his car. His name was William Morales. He was only 23 years old. He was a Mariel refugee, and he was a Santeria. He was a Santero, dressed in white with all the beads from different color. So he was involved in that. When he looked at me, he looked back. We arrested the 2 other guys. We were doing a reverse deal for 5 kilos of cocaine. So we arresting most of the guys that were with me. I was the only federal agent. I was in charge of a police lieutenant, 1 sergeant, and 7 police detectives from narcotics, Hialeah. And I coordinated with the lieutenant that the money man, we're gonna take down the money man. My partner, who was a detective, is gonna block his car, and we're gonna take him. At the time, I'm hyperventilating because I'm reliving that incident. The guy looked at me, look at the 2 guys behind me that are going down, and they've been handcuffed. And he looked at me again, smiled to me. Let me just share an incident. Before, on the same day, early in the morning, I start arresting, as a SWAT guy, I start arresting Rastafarians, people, Rastas, yeah, man. We start arresting, and we had 39 arrest warrants for them, Jamaicans. And in one particular house, we went inside the house, we found in Miami 19 Rastafarians with arrest warrants. So I am the primary penetrator of the team. So I grab them, I sweep them. Nicholas will love the sweeping. I sweep them, put them on the ground. The guy behind me will handcuff them. I continue. And we did that a lot. And most of the guys, when they saw us with all the full gear, helmet, mask, everything, they smiled to us, turn around, and put their hands for us to handcuff them, kind of giving up. I remember that I am arresting one, and I'm having against the wall, I'm holding him against the wall, and from the closet, a big guy come up. I have my hands already tight because I'm handcuffing this guy. So the only thing that I could do, it was a hook kick to the head. So I hook kick him with the tactical boots. So I hit him here. He landed. When he landed, like in the movies, boom, he landed. It sounds like a noise, like metal hitting the ground. Guess what? He has a 25 caliber pistol inside his hair, hitting inside his hair. When he landed, you could see the pistol. So it was a tough day. We finished around 3 in the afternoon. I am resting. My supervisor called me up and he said, Lieutenant Puglisi from Hialeah Police Department, narcotics call you. They have a deal. They want you to be on the scene if you want to. And I thought, I'm so tired, but I said, yeah, no problem. So I jumped in my car and I went that way. Remember, that day I have over 42 pounds on my body for hours. A bulletproof vest, small assault rifle, 2 pistols, one on the front and one on the side. I am tired. I just grabbed my first pistol, my undercover pistol, and I jump in and I have blue jeans. I put blue jean jacket, and I went to the scene. Then they told me about these 2 guys who wants to do a deal, 2 guys. So when the whole thing happened, they set up everything. They took a little sample of cocaine and they came back and they said, our man is coming to pay. So now we know it's 3 guys instead of 2. Mm. So we divided on the operational plan, and I was with James Rockcliffe. James was driving a big Cadillac Seville with dent all over. And I said, what happened with this car? It was a nice car. He said, hey, in the last deals, we had to ram the bad guys. I said, okay, great. Oh, Carlitos, let me show you my new gun. I had to sign it to the police department so they let me carry it. And he showed me a Desert Eagle 44 Magnum Desert Eagle. A big gun, a big pistol. So I'm thinking in my mind, I'm always joking. No matter if we're gonna be an arrest, I come up with a joke before and we're laughing. Many times they had not used the videos of us getting out of the truck, of the SWAT truck, because we came out laughing because I come up with a joke seconds before. So I'm thinking, I'm in a tank. This is a Cadillac. He has a 44 Magnum. That's a cannon. I am in a tank. So I'm thinking I'm goofing my ass off. So the next thing that happened is, at the time of the takedown, William Morales looked at myself, look at the bad guys, smile to me. And I remember, and this is an assumption that I made, and as a police officer, you never make an assumption. If you don't know, you don't know, but don't make an assumption. That's a big mistake. I go all over the world teaching that because I'm humble enough to admit that I'm here barrel. And I mean barrel because I should have died that day. The bad guy look at me. I noticed that his hand is holding the top part of the steering wheel, and the bottom hand, I'm assuming, is holding the bottom part of the steering wheel to make the turn. No, it was like this. No, he was holding a 6 Sauer 226 ready to go 9mm. So he has the window up. I'm approaching. He raised the gun. He did it so quick that when I look at him and I saw the gun, I squeezed the trigger on my pistol. And in the glass, you could see a little hole and shot it on the side, just a small hole. And I look at him waiting to see blood coming out because I could have missed. I was an expert shooter, and I could have missed. We are about 8 feet away. William Morales opened his eyes again, and I'm ready to shoot him. He has a gun. So when I try to shoot, my gun is jammed. So usually a police officer, when the gun is jammed, they point it down, unrack it, and point again. At this time, I am so concerned that I rack my gun, looking at him over my hand. My gun is jammed. So when I look up, he shot a second round, and the second round took a big shot of glass and hit me on my face. And in one of my street fight, it was in a baseball park, and I was hit with a baseball bat on the face. They hit me around here. It was the same feeling when I was a kid. It was the same feeling. That gunshot, it felt like I was hit on the face. So I am bleeding. I have Wayfarer sunglasses. By the way, Raven gave me sunglasses for 5 years. Every year they gave me 2 pairs of sunglasses because it saved my eyes. It scratched it, but all over my face. Have you seen WWE when the wrestler get hit and it's blood? My face was exactly like that. I was a wrestler at the time. So he shot me. He shot a third round. I moved to the side and he cut the collar of my jacket and it went through the collar of my jacket. Then at that time, I threw myself on the ground. He shot on the ground and he missed. I am so many things. My life flew in front of me. I didn't have a kid, so I'm thinking I'm living without leaving somebody behind me to carry on the legacy. The funny part is, it's not so funny. It's funny now. It was in the parking lot of a big commercial mall in Hialeah. Next to the mall is a water canal, and on the other side is a parking lot for Office Depot. My wife is walking inside. She worked in real estate at the time. She's walking into Office Depot when the incident is happening. Imagine this. So I'm on the ground, and at that time, Tommy Kellogg, a former Marine, starts screaming, "They hit Carlitos, they hit Carlitos." So he started running with a 9mm 506 Smith & Wesson, and pow, shot the first round, hit the bumper of the car. I'm on the ground, I'm next to the driver, and the driver is looking, he's kind of hiding because I could see his head. Then the second round hit the trunk of the car. Then until I saw him, assuming we were stand, aiming, even closing his eye, because everything happened in slow motion. Put one round, went through the brake light of the rear windshield and hit William Morales in the head. I saw the head moving, okay? So at that time, Sergeant Venema is grabbing me by the jacket. I'm bleeding. Like I thought, I was shot on the face. And he's holding a Python 357. And he's moving like this, dragging me and walking away from the car. And at that time, you hear cataplum, another gunshot, but I mean big gunshot. When I look, thinking that something happened to William Morales, the only thing that I heard was, "Ugh!" And I look at Tommy Kellogg. Tommy Kellogg is flying on the air. And he's landing, grabbing the side of his. So I'm thinking William Morales is alive and he shot Tommy Kellogg. So I see that the sergeant is doing an assessment. He's not reacting. So I grab his finger, twist, and took his gun. They said that I walked like a drunken guy. I walked through the door. The window is not there anymore. And I grabbed William Morales' hair, pull out his head, put the gun in his mouth, and I'm ready to shoot. And at the time, Oh shit! I have his brain in my hand. So he got shot, big hole here, and I have his brain in my hand. So I couldn't understand what happened. The next thing is that I learned because that day I'm in the hospital hours later. First of all, I called my wife. My wife said that when she came out of Office Depot, she saw the news media's helicopter filming and all that. She didn't know what was going on. And all my friends learned that on the TV, they said it's Carlos Montalvo being shot on the head. So all my friends went to my wife, to my house, and they brought dominoes and all that. I put the table and said, we wait for Carlos here. And my wife didn't know what's going on. And she come up with an asopao. Asopao is a stew, shrimp stew for everybody. And she's doing all that. And the reason they're doing this is in case that the news happened, they're there to help her. However, I called her. I let her know what happened. And then after that, I went to the hospital. They took me to the hospital. And when I'm standing up, the doctor is pissed off at me because I'm walking up and down. And he has a nurse that had to open this, get the glass out many, many times. And I'm looking through the entrance, and our two firearm experts, one from Washington, D.C., one from Miami, and our assistant director of ATF is there. And I'm saying probably 4 hours after the shooting. So the doctor says, tell him to stay still. And I look at them and I said, you guys, I will not stay still. My gun is a piece of shit. It jammed after the first round. So the next thing is they said, no, Carlos, sit down, we will explain to you. And they come up with all these pictures. And what in reality happened was that the first round that William Morales shot at me went down the barrel of my pistol and I smashed my bullet and locked my gun. And I couldn't move it. I couldn't rack it. So that had never happened in the world. And how Tommy Kellogg got wounded was because James Ratcliffe is ready to retire 6 months. In 6 months after the shooting, he said, I'm in the shooting, let me shoot one round. So he shot one round to William Morales, missed William Morales, and hit the guy who saved my life on the side. And thank God that it was a level 3.8. And what happened was I broke 3 ribs. Broke 3 ribs, and the bullet continued, and I stopped in 4 fenders of car. That's how powerful a 44 Magnum is. So this is crazy. So my wife, Suma, set up a dinner. I want to have a dinner with only the detectives that were with me. So the next thing is I'm having dinner. Sergeant Gary Venema is walking up with his wife, and he has a cast in his hand. And I look at her, I say, you beat him up, huh? I start laughing, you beat him up. And she said, ask him. And Sergeant, he looked, Carlitos, you broke my finger when you took my gun away. I said, oh my God. So imagine that. I have the mayor of the city of Hialeah, not because of that case, but I did a lot of cases there, dedicated a proclamation, and it's called Special Agent Carlos Montalvo's Day. And every year they have that celebration there. And that is the actual pistol that was in my shooting that you could see there. That was the actual pistol. And a gun collector recently, and I would say 3 years ago, offered me $35,000 for that gun. Because he says, it's amazing. And recently I appeared on a book and all that. Go ahead.
What's your home address, Hanshi?
It is funny that all this thing happened. in another, and I will share this because I'm a lucky guy. And I want to share this, and I want to finish with something of my own. In another shooting in Puerto Rico, we have 18 kilograms of cocaine, 5 guys armed. We go into a chase. We bump into cars and all that. The car crashed. The guy get out, start shooting. I shot at him. The passenger, front passenger, start running and shoot, and I shot at him too. That one grabbed his ear. He was so lucky that his bullet went through here, came out of here, and it looked like one of those piercing things. It looked funny. So the other 3 guys start shooting, and I get out of my car and I start shooting at them. I remember running, exchanging magazine, and continue shooting. They went in reverse. And the reason that I'm telling you this is for you to understand. I killed the car. I shot the car so many times. I killed the car. I killed the tires. They lost control, and they went inside the living room of a house. Inside. So we were able to arrest the 3 guys in the back. But when I was shooting at one of the guys, I looked at the car and I saw a guy going like this every time that he was squeezing the trigger. He had a silver-plated gun. When we arrested those 3, we had 18 kilograms of cocaine, and we had 2 pistols. The 2 pistols were black. And I said, no, we're missing 1 gun. And the supervisor from the DEA and the supervisor from Custom, no, Carlitos, it's only 2. I said, no. They were shooting. I was a supervisor in ATF at the time. I said, no, the guy was shooting at me, this asshole. And I pointed at the guy. He was shooting with a silver color pistol. So they removed the back seat of the Toyota Corolla, and we found a 357 Model 66 gun. And this is what I'm gonna share with you. I told you so, and I walk away, and I hear the other 2 supervisors, come on over here, asshole. You freaking cat. You have 9 lives. What's going on? So they opened the cylinder of the gun, and the firing pin of the pistol, of the revolver, had struck the primer of 2 of the bullets, but the bullets were so old, did not explode. But the guy shot at me. The only thing was that the bullet didn't come out. So I took that, and because I know Sean is gonna ask me, I took that as a sign. You're here with a purpose. So my purpose is to teach law enforcement, to help them not go through what I have gone, because they're not gonna be so lucky, and to teach them the best thing that I could teach: street awareness, safety and survival, everything, shooting, all tactical shooting, all this type of thing. And the same thing applies to karate. So I'm a lucky guy, and I'm very grateful to God. And I still have friends. Oh, one of my friends is Janet Reno. Remember Janet Reno? Remember Janet Reno? Mm-hmm. When Janet Reno went to Puerto Rico, she was a state attorney in Miami who took the first case. When she ended up going to Puerto Rico, the boss of ATF is standing like this to shake her hand. She looked at me, oh my God, she turned around, left him like this, and went to rub my belly. My luckiest ATF alive. So I'm a Buddha now. What can I say?
Hanshi,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sean Benson's going to want to ask you 10 questions quickly in succession. But before we do that, there's one other thing. It would be a shame if we got off this call and we didn't talk about this, because in addition to martial arts, you and Sensei Suino have a couple of other affinities. You both like Sig Sauer. You both like P226. And if either one of you want to say a hard pass on this, that you don't want to talk about it, but if I mention a name, you both share a common name in your background as well, which is, if I said the name Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, you both would nod your head and say, yeah, I know who the Unabomber is, and
Yeah, I
both for
investigated
different
him too.
reasons.
Um,
So it might be interesting if the two of you talked about that a little bit, because I think you might remember, Hanshi Montalvo, that Sensei Suino has some experience with Ted Kaczynski.
oh,
And
you
if you guys want to just have a hard pass on that, but Sensei Suino, I'm going to let you say if you want to continue with this or not continue with this.
Oh, I'm happy to continue with it. You know, it's probably an episode in itself. But yeah, Hanshi, you may know that in '85, I was one of the guys to open a package from the Unabomber. So if you dig into the history, you'd see that I've got some connection to the story.
wow. Is floated or not?
Yeah, it did. But so this is what I'll share with this. In fact, it's funny. I've been doing some interviews lately. There's a lot of interest in the topic again, and so there's some new documentaries being filmed, and so I've done some interviews with that. Here's what I'll say to our audience watching: if you decide to start making pipe bombs, make sure that you use threaded caps on the end of the pipes. Kaczynski didn't know that when he sent the one that I opened. He hadn't figured it out yet.
So it went.
The reason I'm alive today is because there was a huge hole in the counter, a huge hole in the ceiling, and thankfully, mostly just shrapnel for me. So I didn't get a 365-degree explosion, and that's why I'm having this conversation with you today.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Let me just share this with you. I am the only non-white person in ATF, and I purchased from the white supremacists, which is the Aryan Brotherhood. I purchased 32 pipe bombs in 8 different occasions to kill black people in their churches.
Oh my God.
And the thing is that they don't like Latinos, they don't like black people, you know, they only like the white supremacists. However, my money was as green as everybody else, so I was able to infiltrate that. I would love to sit down with you in the future and talk about it because it's amazing. I remember Kaczynski. I remember all that. Definitely.
I just
we should have that conversation sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll have it maybe on another episode with you back, Hanshi. If you're watching, I don't know if you're doing what I'm doing here, but this is free. Like, these stories are fucked. Like, how is this a thing? You know, and these coincidences and all of this. Hanshi, the word I really feel with you, aside from service, which is such an important thing in my life, is a raconteur. You're such a wonderful storyteller. And the detail and the clarity and the way you come back to the point, it's riveting. And I could listen to 10 different just versions of all this. And what blows my mind is that this is the life you were living in Miami, in the sort of Miami Vice, Scarface 80s, and actually doing that. Because I know for me as a martial artist, and all the other guests have heard my take on this a bit, it's always a bit, you know, the real world versus the dojo is something that I'm very curious about, because I've spent more time in the dojo than doing the kinds of things you've done. So it's so fascinating to me. We have 10 questions that we ask all our guests. I know you watched last week, so you saw these. I hope you didn't study or prepare too hard. So answer as off the cuff as you can, and I'll read these out to you. What is the most effective move in your martial arts arsenal?
The effective move?
Yeah.
Avoid. To avoid the contact.
Who is the most influential martial artist in your life?
My most influential martial artist? I would say, and even though I start before, it has to be Bruce Lee. It has to be Bruce Lee because he was able to bring that to the motion picture type of thing. And before that, it was Billy Jack. I don't know if you know about Billy Jack, the movie. That was the first movie. So I love Billy Jack, and I love the part that he says, with my left foot, I'm going to kick the right side of your face. I love it. I love it.
Well, so then this is probably going to be the answer to this question: the most influential martial artist of all time, and why?
You know what? Many people will probably disagree, but because I read all his book, it is Chuck Norris. It is Chuck Norris. Pastor Chuck Norris now.
Mm.
But the way he prepared himself and what he did and how he never gave up is amazing. So I like that. And he is a world champion of karate who became a star, not a star who became a martial artist. So I love that part.
What excites you most about your next 5 years of martial arts?
What excites me the most?
About your next 5 years?
I would say the legacy that we are developing. I like to have, one of the things that I'm planning to do in the next 5 years is I want to do a trip to Japan with 47 of my black belts. We're going to visit the 47 Ronin. We're going to visit several places. And guess what? My guide, who wants to be my guide, is Soke Isoharu Watanabe. He wants to do that. And I think we are preparing ourselves for that. For in the next 5 years, within the next 5 years, I'm going to do that trip. And I know that Gary and some other had been there. But I'm planning to do it, and you guys are going to be invited, definitely. So it's going to be very nice. It's going to be very nice.
If heaven exists, what do you hope God says to you when you get there?
You're being a lucky son of a bitch.
If you could fight one famous martial artist, who would it be and why?
I sparred a few times with Bill Wallace. And I love to do it again because he's so smart. And we both left-hander. So I would love to, not to fight, to spar with him. He will kick my ass, but I would love to spar with him.
If everyone in the world, whether they do martial arts or not, could get one benefit that you've gotten from martial arts, what would it be?
Humbleness.
Last two questions. What's your greatest achievement and your greatest regret?
Through my years, I had touched a lot of hearts. I had changed a lot of people's view. I have been able to see the result of teaching the martial art to people that were not, that they did not believe that they could do it. One sample, very quick. We were in Puerto Rico, and James, our Kyochi James, told me that he never won in kata. And he doesn't like to compete. He doesn't like to do katas. But when I saw him doing katas, I knew he was good. But he has to believe in that. Not me believe, he has to believe. And we trained until late that night. He competed in a tournament of the Masters, and there were a lot of good people there. I don't know, like 9 people in that division. And he beat everybody and he won. That made me so proud. And at the same time, I know it means a lot to him. So I love that. I love that relationship. And I know what he has done with his life and all the steps that he has overcome. He's a role model for me in many ways.
Greatest regret?
Not have been able to go to Japan yet.
Right on. So I'm going to pass it around to the other senseis to say a little something to you before we go. But for a guy like me to hear these stories, to get to know you a little, and to ask you your greatest achievement, and to have it be that you helped somebody else achieve something they wanted, I'm not going to forget that. Thank you for that. Sensei Suino, you want to chip in? You want to say anything? You want to?
Well, Hanshi, thank you so much. Every time I say this, I just feel like we are so lucky to have you and have the other guest speakers come on here. The things I've learned and the personal connection I feel with you and your experiences. Thank you so much. I guarantee we're going to do this again.
Oh, definitely. My pleasure.
Yeah, we just ticked an iceberg. Sensei Dauphin?
Yeah, I don't want to pontificate too long. I'm just, again, like Sensei Legacy opened a lot of doors to me. You know, and two people on this call, actually all of the people on this call, he opened the door to you and I as well, Benz, right? Like, cause you started with Sensei Legacy, and then I think you're a green or a purple belt. He sent you on your way to me because you were moving to my area. I'm just so happy. Like when I think of what Hanshi Montalvo was talking about, a sensei, a person who's come before you and the path that they travel and the doors that have been opened, I don't know. I just have so much gratitude. I'm so humbled by the people on this call, and not just the people that are talking right now, but if you go through this call, like there are so many people on this call that I'm just humbled to know there is so much knowledge on this call. Like if you went through all of these people, and it's probably thousands of years of information on this call and knowledge. And I'm so happy. And specifically, I'm having a relationship with Hanshi Montalvo and being able to be a person that he trusts, and that I can call him and I know he's looking out for me, and I know he's proud of me and he wants to help me with things that I'm trying to do. I'm so grateful for that. Like if I can repay that, I really hope that I can, because he definitely deserves that. After a lifetime of martial arts, he deserves that.
Thank you.
So
I would like to share something that Gary, could you hear me?
you're muted, Sensei. Somehow your mic is muted, Hanshi.
Okay. However, when Gary and myself and somebody else that I don't remember his name, we were promoted to 9th Dan.
Yeah.
My sons came, all the three of them. One of them is no longer with us, but he's up there looking down. Came and gave me my red belt as a 9th Dan. And I didn't know that it's gonna be like that. I didn't know who's gonna present it to me, but I have a very nice speech to say. And when I tried to talk, I was so emotionally involved in the fact that my three kids with the karate uniform gave me the belt that I couldn't talk. And I remember that my brother, Gary Legacy, talking instead of me. And he said something. Do you remember what you said, Gary?
No.
He said something like, to recognize that you are a tough guy, you had to recognize your soft side. And it was something like that, but it means a lot. And I always carry those words with me. And I knew from that point on that him and I were gonna be brothers for the rest of our life. And I wanna thank you for that. It means a lot to me. And I don't know how many years it's been a lot of years.
Yeah, it's quite a few years.
That I enjoy our relationship. The Ronin Brotherhood Hall of Fame would not be in the US or Puerto Rico. It's gonna be in Mexico, probably in a couple of years, with the assistant of Luis David, Renchi Kazuo, Sensei Paco. We're gonna do an awesome event. And I wanna share that I am just waiting for you to be there. Definitely, it's gonna be amazing. We're gonna have a tournament. We're gonna have everything. Everybody that is in this call will be invited. We're gonna have a good time, and you're gonna learn how to dance Mexican music. Okay, that's important.
That's okay.
Oh, Nicolas, let me show you something.
Yes, sir.
And this is the last thing that I'm gonna do. This is one of the awards that I presented that day. I did the drawing. I sent it to a sculptor in Mexico, and he did this beautiful sculpture for us. And he has the katana on the right, the wakizashi on the left. And he has the hat because he's a Ronin samurai. He's ashamed to be a Ronin. So I think you're gonna enjoy that. And when you get yours in Mexico, you're gonna love it too. And it's gonna be a different design. It's gonna be a different design. I'm gonna draw something else, but it's gonna be like that.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Randy, if I took too long.
No, not at all, Hanshi. There's nothing to apologize. Sensei Legacy, now that you're unmuted, do you have anything that you want to say? If you don't want to say anything, that's okay too, but is there anything that you'd like to share with everybody?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, yeah.
Okay, great. I was really glad to sit in and listen to Sensei Montalvo. Mutual respect. Guys who carry that much weight in martial arts always deserve respect.
Thank you.
And like the old adage, a lion doesn't have to tell you he's a lion.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to show you this for you guys. We designed this. And you're gonna get yours too.
That's beautiful.
I want one of those.
And it says Ronin Brotherhood 2019 Hall of Fame, and it's gonna be the year that it's gonna be. And it has the same samurai that the thing that we did.
Right on.
Well, my friends, I'm going to give the last word to Hanshi Montalvo in a little bit, but I just want to say to anybody who wrote in a question that I didn't get to, it's pretty obvious why. Your questions are always great. I joke about them, but sometimes the stories are just so good that there's no reason to interrupt them. And I just want to keep hearing what Hanshi Montalvo has to say. So Hanshi, thank you, everybody. By the way, next week we have, Hanshi John Tarian, and I'm super excited for that as well. Another week of privilege for a guy like me to get to sit in this. It's one of the greatest gifts of this COVID for me, is to be able to be a part of this. I just want to, I ask a lot of questions, but I'm really just sitting in the backseat listening. Hanshi Montalvo, what do you want to say to take us home?
So many things at the same time, nothing. But let me just share. I think that when you practice the Bushido the right way, it will take you in places that you never imagined in your life. When you have a sensei, the relationship that a sensei has with you is an amazing one. And I want to share that for the people here. I always feel very, very, very proud that I had met people like this. I feel so honored that people like James, Aded, Luis David, amazing instructors, and they look up to me because I am their sensei. Let me just show you, between you and I am the student. They are the senseis. I'm learning more from them than what they're gonna learn from me. It is amazing that I had the opportunity to talk to you guys. I wish you the best. And I always going to be one phone call away. Team Moynihan, same thing with you. Amazing. I love you guys. And I'm planning to go. One of my trips is going to be to Canada. Definitely. Even though probably I would not do anything, just sit down and talk. It's amazing for me and see you guys. So big hug for everybody. God bless. And yes, I'm a lucky guy. And I will tell that to God. You know, I'm a lucky guy. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Hanshi.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Hanshi.
Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Don't touch your face.
That's true.